Dude, that's the angle I want. You're looking good. You're looking like you can take down Floyd Mayweather. If I do say so myself.
Oh my god, I'm so tired, Joey.
Why? Welcome back to America, buddy. Los Angeles is better than ever. Aren't you happy to be home?
Yeah, I'm mega jet lagged. I slept probably 3 hours last night.
Oh no.
10:20 p.m. local time, so I'm very tired.
Are you going to talk to me then immediately go to bed?
Yeah, probably. I think that is the plan.
I'm going to do the same thing because I have a flight in less than 7 hours that I have to get to LAX for.
Yeah, where the fuck are you going? I was like, I told Ellie, I was like, yeah, I'm going to do the podcast now because Joey's going, and then I was just like, I don't know where he's going. He's going somewhere. Where are you going again? Do you work for Liquid? Is this like a cover story?
Hey,
do you say that you work for them, but you're actually unemployed, Joey, and you're just too ashamed to admit it?
I want you to know that I have unlimited PTO, and sometimes people think that's a scam, but other times, if you just abuse it, you can do things. I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about.
You have unlimited PTO?
Yeah, it's generally not a good thing because, I think all the math and all the papers say, when you have unlimited PTO offered, people take less time off.
Yeah, because if you are owed a certain amount, you're going to take that certain amount. Also, people, if they don't take it, then they usually have some sort of pay program for the PTO. So you don't have that, I assume, with unlimited?
Correct, yeah. So I don't get extra days off. I just get days off outside of federal holidays, as many as I want, if it makes sense. Which, the first year, I didn't use properly, and I took probably 4 days off the entire year. One of them for a funeral. And this year, I'm like, hey, everybody, it says unlimited. The real story is that I have just so many friends who are getting married this year, which means both a cacophony of bachelor parties and weddings, and everybody's turning 30. So there's a bunch of birthday parties that are also traveling events. This is a year that I'm probably going to see my Delta number go higher. But I'm off to Cancun.
You have too many friends. There's
no such thing. There's no such thing.
You got too many of them. You've diluted the pool. I feel like our friendship is less special because you have too many friends. So I'm going to need you to cut down on that number, please.
Perfect. Ellie, right off the chopping block.
Yeah, Joey's my friend, not yours.
Well, she came to my birthday party because she was here, and you weren't, which is fine. And she did this really nice thing, which was bring me flowers, which is something that I am pretty sure nobody has ever done before. So
did you enjoy your flowers?
I was like, oh, wow, this is what this is like. Oh, wow, they're nice. I think I understand why people like. Oh, wow. My mom, I brought them up. My mom's like, who the fuck bought you flowers?
Yeah, if I had gotten, you would have gotten jack diddly squat. So she not only showed up to your birthday party, but she also bought a present. I did neither of those things. So
we missed out on a good time. We played laser tag. There was axe throwing. So the thing that was fucked up about my birthday party is that I got the venue for free on the condition that I was able to use all of my friends who were there for marketing material. So we did a lot of photography and video, which is now going to be social media assets for the company. So,
wow.
Yeah, my friends signed away their rights to be used to advertise a laser tag business in small town California. You not included. You probably would have negotiated a talent fee or something. So maybe it's a good thing you're not there. How was your trip? Are you happy to be back?
Yeah, I'm always happy to be back. I never like being away from home. But yeah, it was fine. It was, being there was fine. Trip, Southeast Asia's far, so flight is never fun, but it is what it is. I had a empty spot next to me. Unfortunately, the row. Okay, so I'm platinum with the airline miles things, and so that comes with them coming up. It doesn't nothing useful. It just comes with them coming up to you personally on the flight and being like, "Hi, are you Austin? Oh, hi, so nice to meet you. Here's my name. Thank you for traveling with blah blah blah. We really appreciate your business." And there is You know that row in the middle. I always do middle row aisle because less people in my way if they need to go to the bathroom or whatever. So middle row, but then right before it goes to like a different section. So there's like a wall.
Yeah, like
right?
the bulkhead.
Like, yeah. So you have extra leg room. So, you know, so many airlines are doing this thing now where like every seat that is not total ass is now a special seat that you have to pay extra money for. And that was entirely empty. And they came up to me, did that thing, you know, like, oh, hey. And I thought, all right, well, this is my chance. I was like, you know, like, hey, like, I know I was the last one on the plane, you know, after the flight departs, can I just take one of those spots one row in front of me? Because, you know, I'm kind of tall and the extra like, and she was like, oh, I'll talk to the manager. The manager came over. Hi, I'm this person. Nice to meet you. Thank you so much for traveling. Did the same little whole thing. And then said, no, you can't sit up there.
What, was the seat empty?
Dicks. Yes, the whole row was empty. And people kept sitting down and then they kept kicking those people out, basically.
What airline were you flying?
China Airlines.
Wow. Okay, I have never experienced that before. Generally, I think every airline that I've been on that has had that kind of situation, it's first off, it's kind of a free-for-all. Like, people just move around, and then whoever's sitting there, right? But the flight attendants are just cool with it. They don't care. So they must have a mandate to not do that. Yeah,
I mean, they got to get that fucking extortion money out of people somehow for slightly better seats. I mean, the thing was, it wasn't that big of a deal because the seat next to me was empty, and that row of seats has like the arms that are like that are like full on like shields, you know, like full on like little walls.
That's what I did all the way to Singapore.
Put those down.
Yeah,
you can't put those down to lay down on the row, so it's not like it would have been that much better anyway.
Yeah, rough times. I'm curious, did you keep with the boxing the whole time you were there?
Yeah, I think I did it 4, maybe 5 times.
Did it get easier?
No, it got harder.
Oh no!
It got harder.
Because they were working you more?
Yeah, I mean, he was just working me. He's like every day every day is going to be harder, and I was like, I thought that I was going to be getting into better shape, and I would catch up, and it would become easier. And he's like, well, you better catch up faster. That's not actually what he said, because he's Filipino, so he's like very polite and stuff. But I had a really great time with him. But yeah, he was just pretty much like, no, this is boxing. It's gonna get harder every time. And I was just like, son of a bitch. And I was like, okay, well, I'm going away for a few months. I will probably be back. So I'm going to use this time to get in much better cardio shape. So when I go back, it is easier.
So your goal is to return and then be more impressive. So you can do better. Okay. That feels like good motivation for you to like do stuff these next couple of months.
Yeah. Cuz you know, like that guy, okay, here's the deal. I'm out of shape, but I'm not out of heart, okay? Like I work hard. I push myself hard. So it kind of annoys me when like they do that whole thing like, oh, you keep pushing like I know my own limits, and I know I can push really, like I have put you know, military training, I push myself to the point of fucking blacking out. You know, I've done that. So it's not a problem with like their whole motto is we teach heart. I'm like, I don't need any more heart. Like I'm good on that regard. I'm just like literally physically like fucking bad right now, you know? So I want to be to a point where I'm pushing myself that hard, and you know, I'm actually getting through it all instead of, you know, not. I
need heart, but that heart is just cardiovascular strength. I need literal heart so that I don't hit a speed bag for 2 minutes and then go.
Oh, hey, by the way, I had 2 suitcases, so I actually brought back. You remember the conversation we had before we left?
Yeah. What would you bring back?
Yeah. So so here, let me get it. It's down here.
Oh, okay.
I brought back this for you.
Oh,
Here you go.
no, that's from Austin. It's an audio medium. Austin, it's an audio medium. You can't tell. The people. Now they have to watch the YouTube
the
video.
The present I brought back was my middle finger.
Why'd you have 2 suitcases?
I brought a smaller suitcase because to make sure I don't go over the weight limit. I have to pay extra, and specifically to carry like the heavy stuff, like keyboard, all the computer equipment and stuff like that. I actually did look for your things. I didn't see them anywhere.
That's very kind of you. Thank you.
Yeah. Because you want to know why? Because I wanted to be able to eat them in front of you right now. I thought that would have been a really funny bit, but I couldn't find it. So.
You pull the can over and there's just crumbs coming out, and I'm like, fuck.
These were really good, Joey. Thanks.
It's okay. I'm gonna have to talk to Neil about this next time. I'm gonna send him with more luggage. How was the last time we talked a little bit about the DPC. We were like a week and change in, right? How did the rest of the broadcast go? Like, do you feel like they got smoother? We had a good time. We had a good time with ePulse.
Yeah. The CEO for like a post breakdown, post event meeting, which very few tournament organizers have ever asked. I've probably done it less than 10 times, and I've probably done how many events do you think I've done?
I don't know. What you 50, say? You say generally what's a good average? 6 a year for 7 years?
Yeah, but I think I've done more than 6 a year. Because there was that one period of time where I was like, I went for like, I think I did 7 events in a row by itself 1 year. And that was just one string of events that didn't include TI. So, yeah, it's probably somewhere around like the
50
plus.
Yeah.
So
that's a lot.
I've done it less than 10 times.
Well, you keep all your badges, right? So if you really wanted to, you can probably go back and count a majority of them. But I guess not all events have badges because you probably didn't get one for working this, right?
Yeah, that is also true. Any of the DPCs wouldn't have something like that. But yeah, I definitely have over like 50 badges. I went through that entire thing. It's actually, if somebody wants to check out my Instagram, you can count them all up. I actually made a little collage of all of them. But anyway, they sat me down, me and Avery down, asked for feedback and stuff. We really didn't have very much. It was a very smooth event. Southeast Asia went slightly different than I expected. I think I had Execration not actually making it because when I made a prediction, it was right after they got bopped really hard by like SMG or somebody.
They only lost to Geek Fam, or excuse me, Geek Slate.
Geek Slate bopped the shit out of them in like 2 25-minute games. So I thought they had exposed something about Execration, but nobody else was able to do that. And then Blacklist actually fell out of favor. They ended up in a tiebreaker, and they were just out of fucking gas because they played a series at the very end against
Talon?
Against Talon, yeah. Or against... Or
they played against Boom.
Geek Slate.
Okay, I'm sorry. They played against Geek Slate, and then they played the tiebreaker against Talon.
Yeah, they were the second and third place at that time, and they played that series, and the series went super fucking long. They basically stomped the first game and looked really good, and then they lost two 70-minute games in a row. They lost a 73-minute game and then a 78-minute game.
That's a lot of Dota.
Yeah, and then after that, they had to go on and play the tiebreakers. It was the same day. So they lost 2 70-minute games, and I think they were just kind of fucking broken from there. So they played a tiebreaker against Talon. They got 2-0'd. It wasn't close at all. So yeah, they fell out.
They're not going to the major. There. I don't think this is probably something you guys pulled stat-wise, maybe, or talked about on the broadcast. I don't think there's ever been a DPC season where the 2 lower division teams took first and second.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm sure that was probably a talking point on the panel, but I didn't listen to them. I mean, I listened to them during the draft because we have a little segment where they like include the casters and we do a little talk back and forth, which most events avoid doing that because it's a little bit more technically challenging to get right. But when it works, I think it's pretty good. But sometimes it just didn't work very well. But yeah, we did that. So I would listen to them during the draft. So I would have something to talk about with them. But when it comes to like, what does this match mean? Let's talk about the stats between these two. I don't listen to any of that. I've got my own like storylines for that. So
for sure. And I mean, I think that the other storyline people taking away, and the one that people are probably giving more credit to, as opposed to Execration and Geeks slate, not fam. I guess that's a sponsor change, right?
It's so what Southeast Asian teams do a lot is that they merge with another organization for a team. So that's where you see like there's another example that of like has had like Myth Trust, Myth. Yeah. So like Myth is made in Thailand and then Trust is a different org. And so they like combine together for a team. So this is the same thing. It's Geek Fam partnering with Slate Esports, who's I think some sort of mobile org or something. Not an org that's traditionally in Dota. Also, from my understanding, Dota is like a prestige thing. Basically, these orgs like just they funnel all the money they make off of the mobile teams, and then they just put it into Dota because it's like a prestigious thing. But it's not actually a money-making thing.
Shocking. I mean, I couldn't have told you that. Dota, not making money? Get out of here. What are you talking about? I don't know anything about that. Dude, but people are probably talking about them less and still a little bit more fixated on the fact that Boom and FNATIC, specifically FNATIC, are the teams that got knocked out of CDPC. Not just because of the players, but because of the brands and because of the years they had last year. These are the teams that were at TI.
Yeah, pretty big fall from grace for these guys. FNATIC just kind of bad, to be honest. Boom looked a little less bad. But I think one of the things about Boom was that they lost Skem. And Skem is now on Geek Slate, and Geek Slate looks honestly like maybe the best C team out of all of them. So I credit him with like a fair amount of their success because he was the captain and shot caller for Boom before. I mean, if you set aside Mushi, right? And I assume he is in a similar position for Geek Slate as well. So I kind of credit that being a big problem for Boom. Probably a big part of their identity is lost when they lose Skem.
So are you able to keep up with other regions when you were on the downtime? Were you doing a full DBC slate, or were you really just narrowed into SEA? The
problem is that the interesting regions were kind of at a bad time zone for me. In Southeast Asia, if I want to watch Europe, I have to be up from like midnight to like 6 a.m. or something like that.
It's not going to work day, yeah.
Yeah, that's not great, especially with my sleep schedule. So I tend to wake up pretty early in the morning whenever I'm like jet lagged. Basically, whenever I like reset a new sleep schedule, I wake up with the sun. So that wasn't great. And I'm not really interested in watching NA, to be honest, because I think it's pretty boring. As seen from like, you could pretty much have predicted the results with like one or two switcheroos. Like, is TSM or Shopify going to be first or second? You know, like, okay, that's like one position, one match that matters, basically.
I didn't think that TSM was going to be as good as they were with swapping out 3 players, but I guess I was just wrong about that. I'm still probably going to be skeptical of them when they go to the major.
Yeah, I mean, I think you expect Shopify are probably the squad that you expect to have the better performance at the end of the year, if you look back on it. But it doesn't surprise me that TSM takes first. It's like one series. I would question if they've even scrimmed against each other at all, this entire season. So, they played one series. The drafting, I think, for that series was kind of interesting. I mean, they just gave him Lena Tree. I don't know what that was about, or maybe they just don't particularly care if it's first or second. They probably should, seeing as those points have proved to be pretty important. But yeah, I think either way, though, they're the obvious like 1 and 2 seed. I think it's pretty obvious that Nouns is probably third. Wildcard 5 Rat are 4th, 5th, and then Thuth was probably last. Alpha was probably down there, and Bait was probably either 6th or 7th, depending on how good Alpha was. Which it turned out Alpha was really bad because they did not win a single game. So
man, so fun fact about Alpha. I think the only team that didn't win a single game. And conversely, fun fact about TSM, they had the best match record in the DPC this season. They only dropped 1 map.
Oh yeah, they barely beat out Liquid, who only dropped 2 matches.
I think there's other teams who dropped 2 games. I think Bet Boom dropped 2 games, and currently Aster has only dropped 2 games, but they haven't played their last set yet, so maybe. But yeah, so I mean, TSM looked dominant, with probably an asterisk on it. Similarly, the conversation between who was going to win between Beast Coast and Beast Coast only lost 2 games too. The conversation between who was going to win between Beast Coast and EG got settled with Beast Coast having the perfect season in SEA, and I don't think that's who I would have put my money on if you asked me to like bet $5 a month ago.
Yeah, I mean, again, I don't think it's like super surprising, but also I do wonder like what the end of the year performance is going to look like, because I still believe that EG, I think their ceiling is higher with this the lineup that they have, so we'll see. But yeah, that makes SA not particularly interesting outside of like just a couple of specific matches. China was more interesting, but China also wasn't going on half the time that I was there because of the Chinese New Year, which I got to experience.
Was any fun there?
And it was loud.
Fireworks.
Yeah, there was one night where like fireworks just started going out, like literally right outside of my window, like at eye level. These fireworks are going off because they set them off in like basically the parking lot of the hotel. So that definitely woke me up because that was at like 11 p.m. I was winding down for the night, and all of a sudden, I was just like, holy fuck! And then they had one time the parade deal came through with the drummers and the dragons and stuff. That was also incredibly loud. That was in the lobby when I was trying to leave. So that was my impression of it for the most part, was loud.
Can you talk to me about Knights? Because the last thing that I saw about them was that there was like a Reddit thread, which I'm going to be honest, this is not good journalism, didn't really investigate very thoroughly. But, I'm looking at there was my understanding is there was an accusation that they were map hacking?
Yeah.
Question mark? Is there a conclusion to that? Is there a follow-up story? No.
No. You will basically, I think you will never get a follow-up on it unless they are banned. I don't think Valve is ever going to come out and be like, these guys were not cheating, right? Because if you say that, then you open yourself up to the possibility of being wrong, right? So I think at this point in time, enough time has gone by that I assume Valve has made their judgment, which is not enough proof to ban.
Innocent in the court of Valve.
Yeah.
Okay.
It could be that they're still doing some sort of investigation, but I feel like that has taken quite a long time, especially given the break that there was and everything. So I assume that there's just not enough evidence to do so. I also haven't heard, there was some other team that got accused of match fixing. And this was not for a DPC, I believe. It was I think it was a C team. And that one, I actually did look at the evidence for a little bit more and I felt it was a little bit more conclusive. That one was a little bit more damning because it includes some obvious alt tabbing where basically the guy's mouse cursor stops moving.
Ew, that's...
Because the idea is that he's alt tabbing at that time to look at his map pack, and I presume having the program separated from Dota in some way helps it keep it out of detection. I have no real idea about these things because I've never used anything like that. So we're not journalists. That's also why I don't really usually have a strong opinion of these things. It's somebody else's job to figure out whether or not it's true. And no broadcast is going to let us go ahead and talk about these things. Just because.
Hey, Sheev. So I heard on Reddit. That's not going to happen, right?
Yeah, I mean, the last time we did something like that, it was the PPD thing, which was, again, it was a whole shit show.
Hey, Loda.
I stand by. I think it's fine, but.
Yeah, but I think that situation was more like doing the journalism live, where the night situation you can't, what are you gonna do? Hey, so were you guys cheating? And they'll be like, then the translator will be like translating it, and then they'll say something, the translator will say something, and then they'll be like, no.
Imagine if the translator though said yes. He just said yes, they were cheating, don't listen to them. But
the story
yes, I would agree with that distinction where one is just like the evidence out there, and it's basically the only thing you have to say about it is whether or not you believe the evidence, but you're not the judge in this case, so it's kind of pointless to air your opinion, I guess.
The story of Knights is interesting to me because they look like they're probably going to end up in second place, maybe in third. They're definitely going to the major. And if I look through the people on the team, I don't think I know who any of them are except for Flyby. And even Flyby is a name that I'm digging through my deep gray matter to remember, because they were on RNG a couple years ago in a maybe not successful roster.
Yeah, I've seen I've seen all these names a number of times. Alacrity was probably the one that I was most surprised by, because I've seen him probably on multiple teams, and there's nothing about his performance that ever stood out to me personally.
Recently on Nigma Galaxy C version.
Yeah. So, yeah. I've seen all these guys, but yes, I would agree that almost none of them have stood out to me in any distinction. Maybe XCJ, if he was on that Serenity roster that was doing well at that time. And then, yeah, the other name you said was Flyby. That one's obviously a little bit more standout. Felix Xiaobao has been around for a bit, but seemed all right. Nothing like crazy good when he was on RNG. So yeah. So
that can go two ways. So in my mind, that can either go two ways, right? Way one, this is a good thing. There are new people who are succeeding in China, which theoretically is something that we wanted to see happen because it felt a little bit stale with retirements and not a lot of success. The opposite side of that road is so many people have retired in China, has become weaker, that now people are succeeding who might not have been able to succeed previously. And I wonder which one it is. I think it could be either of those.
Yeah, I think China is definitely weaker than it used to be. And I think more and more of the teams are going to become mixed teams, because if you actually look at it, I think Aster is the only one of the teams that is going to the major or could go to the major that is actually full Chinese. Everybody else has usually Malaysian players. In fact, they are all Malaysian. Yeah. IG has Pelosin, who's Singaporean, but I don't think can IG get in? Oh, maybe IG can actually still get into IG it with some 3-4 tie.
If they beat Extreme, then they're 3-4, and 3-4. Then EOM has to lose, and they're 3-4. So it's possible.
Yeah. Okay. Oh yeah, that was funny because that would be funny if that happened because it means there would be a team going to the major with a losing record, which I thought was particularly interesting that that's even possible. But when you give 4 slots to 10 or 8 teams, like obviously if you give it to literally half the teams, then it is possible to have a losing record and make it through. But just that concept, like 1-1, I never made that like little jump in logic, I guess.
And I think that if we've learned anything from the last day or two, it's that 3-way tiebreakers can be really fun.
Yeah, Western Europe did have that 3-way tiebreaker, which OG was the team that did not pull through. Yeah, I don't think. I mean, so I did a podcast with Blitz this morning. And he talked a little bit about that. He said that he felt like DM and ATF were very different style offlaners and probably players. So he thinks that OG is still trying to like find their territory with DM. And he said like part of that was he referenced like one of their last games they played. The OG, they went back to the Timbersaw, which they did, I think, against Liquid as well.
And they didn't in the game OG won. They played Timbersaw.
Yeah, against Liquid. Yeah, and then when in the tiebreaker against Tundra for the 3rd round, they tried to play Timbersaw. And he says like when you're losing as a team, basically you kind of fall back on like what has been successful for you in the past. So they maybe fell back on like a Mars hero pool. So yeah, he just basically says that they're probably still figuring shit out. Tundra finally got in, which was a little bit surprising to see them in a position where they maybe weren't going to go to the major, considering that they're TI winners. But, you know, I think there's always a natural drop off for the TI teams in some way.
They're taking more of a vacation. They have some checks to count. They got a house to go by mom. They like, you know, I think a light motivational dip is probably understandable, right? And they're still going to the major. So really, end of the day, probably not that bad. I was a little surprised by Gaiman doing as well as they did. Maybe that's because I still have some question marks about Quinn coming over to Europe and performing well, but I think that he shut a lot of haters up because they got second, and the team that mostly stayed the same performed well.
Yeah. I think Gaiman Gladiators would not be in my top 4 list. Maybe they would be like 4th. Either way, they're not a team that I would put 1st or 2nd in the region, but they got 2nd in a pretty clear way because they were the first team to take a game off of Liquid. So not only did they go 5-2, but they also took a game off of one of the teams. They were, in some ways, they were kind of like the only game win any team had against Liquid. Liquid did drop a game to OG as well, but that was after they had already qualified for the major and stuff. So, you know, in some ways.
Yeah. I don't think
it's not the same.
I think they were playing a lot of auto chess before that series. Like, that's I don't know. I'm in a conundrum. Okay, hear me out. I have no plans to go to Lima because
didn't last podcast we talked about you were thinking about how to make plans to go to Lima?
Yeah, and I have no plans to go to Lima for a couple of I need to do work here. Clearly I'm taking a lot of time off, but I'm trying to figure out if Liquid does well in groups and the possibility exists that they could win the major, which I think they're probably in the conversation as potential people to do that.
Sure, yeah.
Then I have to figure out how to get to Lima. And I still don't have a plan for that.
I see. Why do you want to be there?
To create content. And because it would be fun. Because I want to rub Will on the head and be like, good job, buddy, you did it.
Yeah, you want to rub his bald ass head?
Yeah.
You think he's ever going to do that?
Did he talk about that on your show?
No, I did not ask him about it. I forgot about it.
My understanding, and I don't think this is private information, we'll see. My understanding is that there is like a team vote, and it'll be up to the team in a very democratic way if it'll happen or not.
I see. Well, you know, anything for the team. Maybe it'll mess with the feng shui of you know, the room if he's bald.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, you know, I assume Aiden just wants chaos and Will to be sad for a minute, but like other people don't actually
Nick is
care.
Probably too sweet that he wouldn't want William to be uncomfortable.
Yeah. I don't know if Chloe gets to vote.
Yeah. That is a pretty important vote. Let's see who. I think Nisha. I mean, Nisha probably doesn't know Will enough.
I don't think he gets to vote.
His interests.
I don't think he gets to vote because he wasn't there.
Right,
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I feel like in a way both Zai and Boxy would vote for shaving the head.
I think Boxy's a little more chaotic than Zai is.
Yeah. I mean, if between the two of them, I feel like Zai is probably the person who would tell William he could keep his hair. But
we'll see. Who knows what'll happen to the major? Maybe I'll have to go to bring clippers to Peru. I don't really know. But if
I presume you have your finger on the pulse of that information because that is content, surely.
Hey man, I just want to go into my edit cave and make a highlight of all of Boxy's Rubik plays from the entire DPC because the man had a really good split. Excuse me, season. I used a bad word.
Oh, you used a League of Legends word. Bad Joey. Yeah. I mean, the teams just kind of killed it. Liquid just dominated Western Europe. Team Secret did not. They got knocked down, which makes the current Div 2 matches going on very interesting. Because I think there's basically 4 teams in contention for the top spot. And I won't talk about those teams, but I will just say that if you do not get out of lower division this season, you're probably never getting out, right? Because Secret and Into the Breach are going to get knocked down. ITB is a pretty legit team. And Secret, you know they're not staying in that lower division. They're going to go back up the next season. So they're taking one of those slots with them. If you don't get out now, you're never going to leave. You are going to be stuck in lower division hell. So you actually need to get out of there right now. Because it's only going to get harder.
Oh no, you're right. Does Secret keep their same roster? Yes or no? Yes or no?
Yes or no? No.
No. Okay. I imagine
is that answer like them kicking somebody right away for season 2 or before they get to upper division again?
Ooh,
because I could see that also still being a possibility. Because like season 3 is usually where the big moves are made, right? Mm-hmm. Where it's like, okay, we've other players basically have tried out their teams for most of the season, and then season 3 is okay. If you're not happy, season 3 is the time to make the change, you know? So I think in some ways it depends on who's available, right? I mean, because you're asking a top tier player to go to a lower division team, even if they are Team Secret, you know they're likely going to be going to TI. Like you are still asking them to abandon whatever current prospects that they have, and I don't know whose prospects are bad enough that they would make that swerve already in second season, you know?
Especially because the teams who will win Division 2 will want to go stay in Division 1 and not come back down to Division 2. So the pool of players who are available in theory, if you're looking like in the region at least, are the people who are staying in Division 2, which you probably don't want for other reasons.
I don't think they're taking any of those players. I don't think they're taking any of the players that are currently in lower division. I think if they take anybody, they're taking somebody from like Eastern Europe. which who did poorly in Eastern Europe? Navi. So there's Vatoon there, Namiga, Malrine, okay. Ramsey's team, Darksiders, got 6. That's pretty bad. That's pretty bad. And somebody did tell me that they thought Ramsey's was much better than his team, like his performance. So I would look for that, just because they already have Rezo and Zayat. So I think that's maybe more likely. Maybe C. Maybe they pull somebody from C.
Maybe.
I mean, to be honest, C's a bit of a mess.
It seems like Team Team Spirit made the right move in the offseason.
Yeah, I mean, the pickup of Laura. I mean, they're kind of always, they're either first or second. I feel like in some way it's a little bit like NA. Maybe there's a little bit tougher competition, but to be honest, they're kind of like 1A, 1B, Bet Boom and Spirit. So they ended up losing to Bet Boom. They actually dropped a fair number of games against other teams.
6 total L's.
I'm not like fully behind that just yet.
Are you familiar with Hellraiser's mid laner, who is going to be going to the major because they were the third place team? Depressed Kid. I could not wait for the cast on the stage to be talking about Depressed Kid.
Yeah, I've casted him a number of times. I mean, there's a player in C called Cox, right?
Yeah, I'm
yeah,
well aware.
That's a better one. Avery was telling me, he was just like, well, I mean, we got some practice in calling him Cox in a game, so we have that over the other casters.
You're gonna feel good about it.
Yeah, it doesn't faze me. We call him Cox all the time. we definitely worked in a few euphemisms with that name. I mean, because it's the DPC. It's online.
What happens? Okay, the game goes to 60 minutes. Tier 5 items are coming out. He picks up a giant ring.
Oh my god, that Cox is huge. Yeah, for sure. There was a time where a Giants ring dropped and they never gave it to Cox. It was a big loss. They had it on their team, but he was not the person to take it. Real shame.
Just for a moment.
Skem took it because he was playing Marcy.
Oh, well, I mean, that checks out, but...
Which just made for a different kind of joke, so it all worked out in the end.
Big mommy?
Yeah, pretty much. I think I said there's like one dude in chat who's just really enjoying this game all of a sudden.
It's really funny.
It's like the DiCaprio meme where he's pointing at the screen except for his other hand is on his dick.
Oh, so do you just at this point chill out for a couple weeks, because the major happens at the end of the month, right? So
no, I'll be here for a little bit and then I'm gonna go see my mom. Because we didn't do the whole Christmas thing, so we got to go see her and then come back and hopefully be going to Lima and then going back and then hopefully going to Kuala Lumpur and then going from Kuala Lumpur to something else. Hopefully. It's actually going to be a pretty busy year. Busy.
Well, I mean, that sounds fun. I got to get to Lima. I got to figure out how to get to Lima. Have you been watching any deep fake porn recently? Just random question.
Yeah, all the time. It's nothing better than
don't do that.
Ending the evening. What? Don't do that.
Don't do. Hold on, wait. Do that. Just don't share it on stream.
Oh, well, I already made that mistake, obviously.
Oh, you need to can you get Ellie to come cry by you while you apologize real quick? We can do it on the show.
I saw this. So what we're talking about is for you pure souls out there who are just esports fans and don't follow regular Twitch drama, there is a very, very big Twitch streamer who got caught basically looking at deep fake porn of other streamers, people who he like works with. So
yeah,
it's pretty creepy.
Atrioc, Atrioc works with people like Ludwig, who you probably know. They have an agency where they create content for people, and they're like basically a production company and kind of like a networking thing. They're very well connected with all these high-level streamers. So it's really weird when your business is working with high-level streamers, and then on stream you just casually tab over to something, and then there's like deep fakes of like Cutie Cinderella and Pokimane and all these people who are like the biggest streamers. And this is interesting to me. Well, first, it's gross.
Yeah, very.
It's interesting to me because of how viral it went. I'm willing to bet that the people who don't follow Twitch drama still kind of know. The tweet got like 100 million views from Dextero in like 24 hours because I think it crossed so many different lines or like so many different Venn diagrams of interest, like the gaming people, the Twitch people, the cancel culture, politics, AI people, because there was conversations about like deepfake porn.
Yeah, because
gaming.
There's already the conversation about AI art, right?
Yeah.
Which people are already like really up in arms about, and how that's pretty threatening to the landscape and cheapens, I think, art in a pretty conclusive way, I would say. And I think it's pretty easy to jump from that to then AI porn and stuff like that.
Yeah, so I actually don't have a lot to comment on it. Actually, I think it's interesting. So the one conversation that I had with a friend is that they were trying to. I think they were a little more empathetic towards Atrioc than I was, and I was like, it's really hard for me to be empathetic for somebody who, one, is kind of rich, and two, did gross, sexy things. And that combination was really hard for me to be like, but he had like a decent apology, and he's like helping pay the legal fees, and he's taking a break, and I think he's like doing all the right things in terms of apologizing.
Doesn't he have a whole segment called Marketing Mondays? I feel like that, like all of those things just sound like. I'm not saying that he's being insincere. I figure he probably is insincere, and he got caught up doing a bad thing. But I'm also going to say that all of those things just seem like the right marketing move.
Yeah, he's doing all the right stuff. All the right stuff. So I mean, I thought that was interesting this week because I think most people probably saw a little bit of it.
Yeah, if you're going to do AI porn, just do AI porn that isn't specific people, because apparently that's also a thing. You could just create people by putting because I've seen those posts. There was a post on Reddit. It was like 3 girls in swimsuits, and it was like one of those like, none of these girls are real. And of course, if you've been on Reddit in the last like year, you will have seen these posts. But it's specific. It was never specifically basically like porn, right? It was more so like, I think the last one I saw was like, this was a house party in the 80s, but none of this is real, and none of these people are real. And it's pretty crazy, like what AI is actually able to come up with, because it looks so realistic. But yeah, I don't know. It's a whole like weird conversation about consent and what's okay and what's not okay. But like, you really just, in some ways, it comes down to just your gut. Mm-hmm. Do you think that's kind of creepy? Yeah, it's kind of creepy. Yeah.
But the level of creepiness goes exponentially up when you know the person.
Yeah. Wait, are you signing off so it's okay for any of the Sims listening right now that are doing it? You're saying like it's still bad, but it's more okay you're doing it than he did it? Yeah,
exactly.
I would actually agree with that. Yeah, I was being a little sarcastic, but yeah. It's in some fucking weird way. It's a whole lot grosser when you like have a personal relationship with that person.
Yeah. Because
then they are no longer just a character on the TV screen.
Yeah.
They are a flesh and blood human being that should demand your respect.
Yeah.
I think more.
They probably had dinner together,
Yeah.
I thought that AI.
I'm not gonna have dinner with him anymore, I bet.
Yikes! Yeah, I mean, the whole thing's fucked. I thought that AI wasn't coming for my job, at least, as like someone who, I mean, I used to say I make television, but it's been a couple years since that one happened.
Yeah, I mean, you got the look. I could see you being a porn director at some point.
Hey, stop. Are you familiar? Are you familiar with this new stream on Twitch called Nothing Forever?
No.
Basically, it's an AI-generated show that runs 24/7 that looks like it's made on PS1 graphics, and it is ChatGPT 3 basically that is fed all the Seinfeld episodes, and it is just like auto-generating machine learning a television sitcom nonstop. And like there's like 7,000 people watching right now. It's getting coverage, and it is bizarre. But I thought if you would have asked me a week ago, I can AI make television, I'd be like, of course not. And now today I'm waking up and going, holy shit, it really is going to take every one of our jobs.
Dude, now I mean, Seinfeld, that's a pretty solid start. You know what I want to see now? I want to see a AI created West Wing. That would be a fucking banger, I feel like. Just because, like, you know, West Wing had like very good dialogue, right? It was like one of the things that Aaron Sorkin is known for. But also like the situations, like imagine like really good dialogue mixed with like the random potential randomness of like, you know, like North Korea wants like free bubblegum for all of its citizens or something like that, and the political implications of that internationally, you know, like just kind of like the most random fucking thing, but like played out in like a really smart political drama.
well now you can just have an AI write it for you apparently, and they can just act it out with like low budget CGI. Aaron Sorkin the newsroom, but it's all fake news. Like
that's pretty good.
What else happened last week? What else happened last week? Things
that I've linked in our conversation.
The Ludwig one is like kind of related, at least very lightly, to the Atrioc one. They work together. They're co-owners of a company. But Ludwig bought into Moist Esports, which I think is really interesting, because when we were gone, there was like this conversation of like, how do esports teams make money, which I thought was really uneducated in a lot of ways, actually. But, you know, discourse on Twitter seldom feels great, right? And then the tail of that comes out with, you know, Most Critical and Ludwig being like, hey, we're investing together, and I'm interested in how this is going to turn out, because it might go well. Maybe? I don't know. What do you think about Ludwig owning a moderately successful tier 2 esports team?
I mean, I think it's good, honestly. Like, it's good for esports, right? If I'm team esports, whatever the fuck, you know, like, I think it's good for esports because, well, this is a better alternative to crypto, particularly now with the downturn of crypto. I think it is probably the more. It is probably a more viable strategy moving forward in some ways. I don't know if it's actually a viable strategy, but it's more viable than maybe some other esports. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something to like keep an eye on and see like whether or not it's actually good and successful for them. But at the same time, I feel like the streamer money is not that much different from VC money, in that they're both kind of like just printing out the dollar bills. The VC people are maybe doing it out of ignorance of like what esports is, or just like an intense amount of greed of like it becoming something really big, or maybe just a long-term strategy of like believing in something and like hoping it'll pay off in 20 years. Whereas like the streamer money is like similarly clouded because it's printed out because they like big streamers can make so much money. But then like they're also personally invested into the esports, so they can afford to like throw away money in some ways, which, you know, Ludwig actually did, you know, like say like, I could just be throwing away money. Like part of me is just like interested in doing this because I think it'll be cool. So yeah, it's something to watch for sure. But
I don't think they're going to get a Dota team.
No, probably not, sadly. But a good question of whether or not like that becomes more of a thing over time. Do other content creators start becoming esports teams, esport orgs, and like merging those two worlds? Because I mean, esports has a monetization problem, and streamers and content creators don't have that problem nearly as much. So.
I think that we see time and time again the most successful teams generally have a really personal and big brand CEO-esque figure. You look at 100 Thieves, you look at old G2, and you go like, there's a reason why these people have spokespeople, mouthpeople that they care about. And you kind of already have that with Most Critical, and then suddenly you add Ludwig to that, and now you have a team that has two of those people who can be, you know, big daddy voice. So I think that it's going to be easy for them, if they want to grow the esports business, to get sponsorship just because of them. People will want to do activations around them. People will, like, AT&T will probably throw money at Ludwig, which can get phoned into the team for Ludwig to do a an AT&T thing, right? So I'm interested in how much their time they're willing to commit. My understanding is, like, you know, 100 Thieves, a lot of their sponsors are like, hey, like, we want to work with Nadeshot, but there's only so much Nadeshot to go around. And there's only so much Ludwig to go around, especially when he's doing 10 other things at the same time. So I think the real question for me is, how invested is he going to be in growing the team with his own brand? Or is he just going to be like, here's some money, let's see if it works, and then, you know, kind of put half a foot in? I think if he really went in, it could be successful.
Yeah, the communication with that sales team, like, you know, what does that look like? What does the sales team, what are they authorized to be putting on the table there to these potential sponsors, you know? Because they can't guarantee certain things like you can with guaranteeing players to do certain things because it's in their contract. It's not quite the same when you're talking about some multimillionaire who owns the organization.
Yeah, and like, what are they even going to do for a sales team? I mean, I would guess that most tier 1 big teams at this moment have at least 5, maybe upwards of 12 people in their sales department who are doing sales full time and business development through sales. I don't think Moist is at that part. So are they going to spend the money to build up a sales department to try and do sales, to try and generate money? It's written, because then you have like maybe at least 2, maybe at least 4 salaries to pay that you didn't have before. So it's definitely a risk, and I'm interested to see how they want to handle that business. I just don't know how Ludwig handles all the stuff that he has to do.
Yeah, and how much I would love to be able to see how much do they think that being a part of an organization and involving multiple people, how much you're able to upsell basically the same numbers, right? Because I think there was a interesting Mr. Beats put out like a cheeky tweet about like the Super Bowl and, you know, like how much those ads go for. And he was like, hey, if like anybody wants to like not pay millions of dollars to get access to 10 million eyeballs, you know, you can hit me up instead, which is like partially true. And I think some of these big sponsors and these orgs and stuff that are behemoths and old, they probably don't really understand the concept of paying one dude that they've never heard of, who's not like a celebrity in their mind, that much money. Like, it probably just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, why would we possibly pay somebody $1 million, you know, for the whatever exposure they can get us? Like, That can't possibly be right, but it is right. They can't do that. But if you're part of an organization and there's a, there's a kind of sports team that is also it's not just this guy, but you're also involved with these people, and you still have basically the same metrics because maybe 90% of his creator, he's doing all the heavy lifting, but it's now involved in a group of 10, 20 people or something like that. How much are you able to upsell that simply off of the prestige, the looks, the officialness of it,
While we're in esports world, I got one more thing before I want to close out, and that is at the end of last year, we didn't talk about when it happened because it actually truly genuinely went under my radar, but FlyQuest was acquired by an NHL team, the Florida Panthers, and they have now put a decent amount of money into FlyQuest, both in terms of staffing and rosters. Their LCS team, 1 week out, looks to potentially be the strongest LCS team, and they might be able to win North American League of Legends. That's a very early read, but they're looking really good, and they spent money for a team. They spent money for content creators. Avali May, who is also really big in that League of Legends space, is now a FlyQuest employee and working full time for them to do stuff. And Jmook just won Genesis under the FlyQuest banner too. So the year for them looks like stocks are going up because they're investing more money into it, into a brand that I think is pretty okay, decent. I'm curious what the year's gonna look like for them. They might be a team to look out for that a lot of people listening to this show have never ever heard of before.
And are they going to get a Dota team?
Probably not.
Probably not. They did pick up a content creator / host who is very, very popular in League of Legends called Avali. And
G4 alum.
Yeah, her announcement video was very funny. It was basically hey, I'm going back to the LCS. And then FlyQuest is well, we can give you a lot of money. And she was never mind, going to FlyQuest, bye. And I thought that was just, that's interesting just because it's another, point of esports just really isn't the moneymaker. And it's better to be attached to, for her in this situation, it's better for her to be attached to a team, an organization, basically kind of doing the same stuff, though she probably has a little bit more creative control.
I'd say a lot more.
But. Yeah, she probably is has more decision making to be doing. But, her end, the end result is probably similar in many ways. But it's much more worthwhile for her to do that than it is to be on the official broadcast. And that seems kind of not quite right. Is that, am I crazy? But I feel like the official broadcast, should, in theory, be able to offer you at least competitive salary in that regard.
I think you might be looking at it completely divorced of the politics of the situation.
Yeah, true.
Because Avali used to do LCS stuff. It was rather successful. She stopped doing it. The fans were do it again. And I think that they just don't like her direction, right? And I think that there's a little bit of a mismatch there brand-wise. So I think that for her in specific, there's probably some politics at play. But I assume that you're right, and that if you are a big enough person, a team will pay you enough to be a content creator and help bolster their roster as opposed to, just be a host. Because FlyQuest, knowing that they have Avali, can sell against her. They can be hey, AT&T, you can do a video with Avali and she can, do a show with you that is sponsored. She can do this or that. And that, in theory, opens up more potential revenue for the company to then pay her than the LCS would just as or maybe anybody is just a contractor. So if it works, cool. But that's also assuming FlyQuest pays her, makes more off of her than they pay her, and I think that a lot of people get in trouble that way. You get big content creators attached to your brand or your team, and you're paying them more than they're helping you generate their sales. And at that point, it's like, okay.
Okay, so I have a question for you. Do you think the general fan, just the fan of the game, do you think more people are better served by her being on FlyQuest or by her being on the official broadcast?
Ooh. I think more people are better served by her being on the official broadcast because more people will see the product. I think that the people who are a fan of her and her content are better served by her being on a team where she can have more control and do stuff that she wants to do. So really the conversation is like, if you're looking for total market, then yes, the bigger platform of the broadcast, there'll be more reach, but I think the content is more neutered. The better content is for the smaller audience and the team.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I just, for my obvious position is that like, the esports job seems far less valuable, basically, or the on-camera esports job is a lot less valuable. And despite the fact that there is obviously a wider audience, and I feel like that just generally means that the esports broadcasting quality gets diluted over time when you don't have like the absolute best people. Which means that the fans are the ones who are most hurt in the end. And yeah, I just feel, I don't know, like if you are more, I mean, if you're League of Legends, you're Riot, you have full control of League of Legends. So you do have the control, I guess, in some ways to make the decisions of whatever's best for, your overall fan base. But like other decentralized games like CSGO and Dota, like there's no way that is solvable, basically. Which I think is just kind of interesting concepts compared to traditional sports. Because, you can get Tom Brady on the broadcast. You're going to get him on the broadcast, and you don't want him to go anywhere else.
Yeah, but imagine how crazy it would be if like the Tampa Bay local or the New England local station had him on like the local broadcast, which I don't think exists for football because of the broadcasting rights. But like, what's the equivalent of like the Patriots paying out Tom Brady a giant contract to just make Patriots content? Like they could probably do that if they wanted to, which would be closer to an esports model. I wonder if there would be any value in that for them. I wonder why they're not doing that. Like, do the Eagles pay McNabb? Do the Lakers pay Shaq? Like, well, no, because the broadcasting networks do. Yeah.
It's definitely.
There's a good conversation there if I think about it more.
Yeah. It's an interesting one for sure. And I am a self-centered person, so I want esports jobs to be worth as much as possible, so my life is made easier.
Yeah,
but that is just like one more sign of like, it's probably better not to keep doing the esports talent job and to like transition into a team position or any organization, basically, whether it's developer, a team, or a tournament organizer, whatever that is.
Well, if you're a developer, don't work on Halo, and also don't work on mobile Apex Legends, because then you'll just not have a job anymore.
Yeah, layoffs are everywhere. Good thing I'm an independent contractor.
Yeah, you can't get laid off, right?
Yeah, the rare time that I have somehow more job security.
Yikes. I actually hope that maybe sometime in a couple of weeks we find out more about what happened at EA, because I'm very interested in the idea of them canceling Apex Legends Mobile from like a bunch of perspectives, particularly like a gaming and esports one, because PUBG Mobile is like the reason PUBG still exists, and a lot of people really liked Apex Legends, and it just exploded, both. It did both, and God. That can't be good for the old esports.
Isn't Apex Legends like relatively complicated for a battle royale game? I didn't even know there was a mobile version of that game, so I was struggling. From the footage that I've seen, I'm struggling to see how it's possible for that to be a good mobile game. But yeah,
there were features that were built into Apex Legends Mobile because I believe it was on a different engine than Apex Legends on the PC. Mobile's on Unreal and PC is on Source. I wanted to say Steam on Source, and people were not only playing mobile but requesting features from mobile to be put into the main game because they liked the version of the mobile game.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jeez. So it sounds like it was at least quality, just not commercially.
It appears,
how is that possible? Like mobile games are like where all the money is.
It appears to also be successful commercially. That's the thing. I don't think there's an explanation as to what happened yet because it's just confusing.
You know what? Some 70-year-old fuck got into some managerial position, and he was just like, games on cell phones, like the flip phones. Preposterous. Snake is a garbage game.
So it came out in May of last year. It hasn't even been out for a year.
It's relatively young. Wow. Okay.
It has almost 750,000 reviews on the Android store. And like a 4+ rating, which is high for mobile games too. So people were playing it. People were spending money on it. People are not getting refunds. It hasn't even been out for a year. I think it's been successful financially, and it just went away. And it just went away.
Weird. Holy crap. I didn't pay that much attention to it because I was just like, I didn't even know that was a mobile thing. I must have sucked. But it doesn't seem like it did. Wow, that is fascinating. That's a fucking big old mystery right there.
Yeah. Anywho, I just looked at the clock and then had a mild panic attack about what time I have to wake up. So,
okay.
Shit. I'm going to go edit the show. And then we're both going to go sleep, and then we'll post it, and then people will be like, oh shit, they're back. I'll be like, yeah, we are. But
from your sunny fucking tropical beach while you're sipping a margarita, enjoying your unlimited PTO.